Alright guys, welcome to another video of the Java game development series in LibGDX. And our infinite jumper at the moment is pretty boring. Let's have a look at it. Yes, nice splash screen we got there. Alright, and there we go. So we can't really do anything right now. We have this going through the sides and jumping always with the same height, but that's not really this interesting. For the sake of this tutorial, we're going to go into the player and add some cheating. So we'll have to remove this case later. And the case is gonna be the one that we pressed space. And in case we pressed space, we want to jump. It's as simple as that. So this is really a nasty little cheat. But who cares? We can now actually test the stuff by pressing space to get up. So what do we actually want to do in this episode? We want to have some level to actually play, because right now we don't have anything, as you just saw. So a level should be randomly generated, platforms should be spawned randomly around the world as we move up. To actually get an idea of this, let's go into the play screen and well, let's actually just go ahead and create the class right now, which is going to be called level generator. Just like that. And no interfaces, nothing extending this or whatever. It's as simple as that. How is this level generator actually going to create the platforms? Well, it's going to create shapes and fixtures, you can probably think of that. But it's not going to create bodies. Simply for the reason that we don't need to. We can just create fixtures and attach them to the body that we already have. And that body that we already have is the ground body. Why would we create tons of bodies if we can just attach these static things? The platforms are static, as you can see. This test thing here doesn't move, to the static thing down there, which is the ground. It doesn't move, nothing happens, so we can just go ahead and attach all the platforms onto this body. So this thing is going to need one body called environment, and this is just going to be the ground that we have in the play screen right here. Where is it? Ground, ah, come on, it's so impossible to find something here. So there we go. We are creating the ground right here, and well, this is going to be the body that we attach all the platforms to. Let's go back into the level generator and put some more variables in there. He's obviously going to need some information to actually be able to spawn the platforms in the right place and not just, I don't know, 10 kilometers away. So we're going to give this a few floats, and this is actually all, just no vector2s or anything, just floats. At first, the left edge, because this infinite jumper is, obviously all about what's happening between the left edge of the screen and the right edge of the screen, like pretty much any game. So we need the left edge and the right edge to not spawn platforms out of that range. The player can't go there anyway. Then we need actually some distance between the platforms. The player has some height, obviously, and if there are two platforms that are just so close to each other that the player doesn't even fit between them, it just doesn't really make any sense. That we would need these platforms there. Or actually, well, anyway, we don't want the platforms to be like stacked onto each other and just no difference between them. That makes no sense. So let's go ahead and create a minimal gap that we want between the platforms on the y-axis, and a maximal gap. But that's not all. Well, the maximal gap is for actually allowing the player to jump onto that, because if they were like 3,000 meters apart from each other, the player would have no chance to actually jump from one to the other. So that's what we need the maximal gap for. Then we also need a minimal width of the platform and a maximal width of the platform, because they won't all have the same width. That's freaking boring. And some height. I won't randomize the height because it just doesn't really matter in my opinion. And that's fine already. Also, we need a Y. And we could actually call this platform Y, but I don't want to type stuff, so I'll just say Y. But platform Y for you to understand, okay? So right now we only miss one thing, and that is the constructor. I haven't talked about the Y actually. What is the Y? The Y is the Y coordinate of the last platform that we generated. So we are able to tell if the last platform plus the actual progress of the player, because the player moved up, he jumped on the platform, so the screen and the player moved up, and if there's the minimal gap between the top of the screen and the last generated platform. So that's what we are going to need to remember the Y coordinate of the last platform for. We don't want to include this Y into the constructor because we are going to set it in the level generator itself. Then there is no superclass, so this supercall can be removed, and we are done. This is a pretty big constructor, but that's just how it is. Also, we want to spam these methods with some getters and setters, so let's just go ahead and do it for pretty much all of them, because it makes sense for all of them except the Y. Nobody's able to touch our lovely Y value here. Then we need some method, and that's actually the last one, that takes care of actually doing the job. Generate. And this is going to take one float, one more float, and we have the left edge of the screen and we have the right edge of the screen, but what we don't have is the top of the screen. I just said we want to be able to tell if the last platform plus the minimal gap is over or under the top of the screen, but we don't actually have the top of the screen, so we'll just pass that in here, called top edge or something. Alright, so our level generator is set up and almost ready to go. Oops, I just hit the microphone. Except for it doesn't really generate anything. But before we do that, we'll go back to this in the play screen and actually create this level generator so he's able to do something. So let's just go here above the player and say level generator, level generator. And there we go. Import it. Fine. Then we'll go into the show method just all the way to the bottom, because, well, you'll see why in a second, and say level generator equals new level generator. And now we need to put all the stuff in there. And what is that stuff? At first, the body for the environment. And I just said that we are going to create all the platforms, which are fixtures, on the body that already exists, which is static, which is the ground. So let's we can actually remove this testing platform right here. We don't need it. Goodbye. And where do we create the ground? Right there. All right. So body ground equals, well, to create body, blah blah blah, and then ground dot create fixture. So nothing changes. We just have the ground right there, and we don't have the test platform anymore because we can jump and cheat anyway. So for the environment body now that we are going to create all the platforms on, this is going to be the ground. Then the left edge. The left edge is, as I said a few times, the left edge of the screen. And what is the left edge of the screen? Right, the thing that we got right here. Bottom left, we need that to create this actual ground so it has the right size. And bottom or top or middle or whatever doesn't matter, we just want to know left. And this says left in its name, so it's gotta be good. Let's just put it in bottom left, and left is happening on the x-axis, not on the y, so we'll take the x value of that. Another thing is the right edge, and well, you can probably imagine that bottom right dot x is going to do the job. Float minimal gap. What is the minimal gap between the platforms? Let's just say, well, I was talking about it would make no sense if the player didn't fit between them, but actually if you think of dual jump or something like that, there are platforms that the player doesn't fit between. Let's just see if we get any trouble, and let's just say the minimal gap is going to be the player's height divided by 2. The player.height, in case you're wondering where that comes from, we put that in here, and it's final, so it's okay to assess them. And actually, it's common practice to say with final variables are just all uppercase letters. So let's just quickly do that to have beautiful code and stuff. If my Eclipse doesn't totally like start asleep right now, that would also work. Oh yeah, the feed name is this scratch because he doesn't know of this name. It doesn't matter at all, but I'm just going to make them uppercase right now. And when we created the player, we just said the width and the height are whatever we passed in the constructor there. Alright, so you know where that comes from, and then we can go back into this constructor of this guy here and divide by 2. Alright, level generator, and there we go. So now we got the minimal gap with it, which is the height of the player divided by 2. And actually I just remembered that this is the width. And then we got the maximal gap, which is going to be, well, it shouldn't be bigger than the jump the player can make, because if the player can jump from one platform to the other because it's just too far away, well, that makes no sense. So let's say player.height times 3. Now you think, how does he know times 3? Well, I just tried it out. You will probably want to measure how high the player jumps or any kind of shit, but I'll just say height times 3 because I know that that's almost perfect. It's not really the most professional way, but it's about the concepts here, okay? Then float the minimal width of the platforms, which is going to be player.width times 1.5f, because I think that looks good. And the maximal width is going to be player.width times, let's say, the player is like dead wide, so let's say times 4 or 3.5. Okay, I'm perfectionist. And then the height is going to be player.width divided by 3. So just picture that in your head. Take the width of the player, divide by 3. Looks pretty good to me. So there we go. We have the level generator created. But remember, oh damn it, there's nothing in yet. So at first, before we put something in there, let's go ahead and put this level generator into action, because we can test if it's never called. So level generator in the render method dot generate, and we have to give it the top edge. Now what is the top edge actually? Well, we have the camera that always takes care of converting between world and screen coordinates and all kinds of things there, but we are lucky and the camera is basically measuring in bucks to the meters. So we can say camera dot position dot y, because the y position, as you can see in this line here, always goes with the player, except he goes down, plus camera dot position, not position, holy crap, viewport height. But the camera position, remember, is always in the center of the screen. So we have to divide the viewport height by 2, because in the center of the screen means we already have half of the viewport height there. So this is the top of the screen. Also, if you set minus here, that would be the bottom of the screen and stuff like that. So the camera position is center of the screen plus camera viewport height divided by 2 is the top of the screen. Fine. Now actually for the generate method, because right now if we start up the game we don't really have any difference, but I'll just start it up because I can. So play and yeah, well, we have the difference that I removed the platform, so it's looking even worse. And we have the difference that we have this cheat there, and as you can see the camera still doesn't follow the player down, because that makes no sense. And I can just jump up again and cheat like hell. And okay, let's go for the generate method. So at first, let's slow this down. When do we want to generate something? Not every frame. This generate method is called every single frame, but we don't want to get another platform every single frame. Holy shit, that would totally spam the whole screen full of platforms, and we wouldn't even be able to see anything or whatever. So we need to determine when we actually want to create a new platform. So inif is probably the thing that makes most sense. And have a look at the variables up here. We created them for a reason. At first, y is the y position, the y coordinate of the last platform that we generated. Now, we didn't really generate any platform in the beginning, so who cares, it's just 0 and that is alright. But well, actually we could put it in the constructor. Anyway, when do we want to generate a platform? When the last platform generated is a certain amount under the top of the screen, because then we just need another platform. And that certain amount is the minimal gap and the maximal gap, a random amount between them, because we want this whole thing to be some kind of random and not always the same. So let's say y plus mathUtils.random, and in a range from minimal gap to maximal gap, so he's going to pick a random range between these. If that is bigger than the top of the screen, which is top edge, just passed in from the player class, then we actually want to generate something. And when do we not want to generate something? Right, if it's not bigger than that, if it's smaller, then we're just going to return and not do anything. In case it is bigger, this return is not going to be called, and we are going to end up here. In case it is not bigger, this return is going to be called, and everything here is never going to be executed this time. So we can just go ahead and create the actual platform right there. Okay, so at first we want to set y to top edge, because y is always the one of the last platform, and we are creating the platform that is the last platform in the next frame. So just wrap your head around that. Y is going to be top edge. Then we want to get the x position of the platform, for example. We want to get a bunch of stuff. Let's get the x position. And we need to create a float x equal to, and this is randomly generated. So the mathUtils.random method comes in handy again. We'll give it the left edge and the right edge to generate a random x value in between, because yeah, we don't want the random x value to go out of one or the other. Then we need to create a width, which is going to be mathUtils.random between minimal width and maximal width. Also makes kind of sense, right? Now there's one catch, one mistake here, and that is, imagine width would be like 5 or something, and x would already be the right edge, because it might happen that right edge is going to be returned, right? Well, not quite, but almost. And if we have such a wide platform and the right edge is all the way to the right, the platform is going to reach out of the screen, and the player will only hardly be able to jump on it, which isn't really fun. So we have to subtract the width from this. Now the width isn't defined yet, so let's move this up there, and the problem is solved. What else do we need? Nothing. Right, because the height already exists. We just set the height like there and there and there and everywhere, and we don't want to randomly do anything with this, so remove it. Now for the part of actually creating this thing. So we need a new polygon shape called shape for simplicity, which is going to be a new polygon shape, and this shape at first has to be imported, and then shape.setAsBox comes in handy again. We can do this in a number of ways. We can set a float array of vertices, a vector2 array of vertices, whatever you want to do. But we are going to set it as box, and there is this method setAsBox which just takes the half height and half width. But we want to position this thing on the screen somewhere, so let's go ahead and create the other one, which takes 2 more parameters. Now for the half width, well, that's pretty obvious. It's going to be width divided by 2. Also for the half height, it's pretty obvious. It's going to be height divided by 2. The center of the screen is a vector2 that he wants there, and let's import this thing. The actual x part of this is not x, because it's the center of the shape. So we have to calculate the center of this thing. And previously here we calculated the x on the left side of the box. Now we have to get the x in the middle of the box. Well, that's pretty simple. X plus width divided by 2 is probably a formula that you are familiar with. So we have the center. Same for the y, but not y minus. Make sure to have it y plus. It doesn't really matter, but if we took y minus the height divided by 2, we would kind of break this test, because then the minimal gap wouldn't be there anymore. It would be a little bit smaller. It would be height divided by 2 smaller than the actual minimal gap, because we moved that much down again. So we would probably want to create that on top of the screen. Also, we might see suddenly popping it in when we're in the game. It might just appear there. Not really anything too catastrophic, but anyway. Next thing was the angle that I just removed there, angle. And well, most are probably going to be 0, but since it already gives us the option there, let's actually say mathutils dot random, come on, random, and what's this, range. Now let's go start and end, and let's say let's just say we define an angle value, and we'll just put that up here because that's kind of funny actually. Angle, like after height, angle, and float angle, and then we'll say this dot angle equals angle, and then we'll need to adjust this in here, and it already gives us the error. Yep, right. And this angle is going to be, let's say, between 10 degrees. So minus 10 and 10 to the right side. So let's say 20 degrees, because it has the freedom to rotate 20 degrees. We have to actually convert this to radians, so mathutils.degrees to radians is what we need. Also, well, there's also this decrad, which is shorter, so I'm just going to use that. And now for here again, where we do this, between angle and angle is obviously not this intelligent, so let's say between minus angle divided by 2 and angle divided by 2. Okay, so now we have some actual angle there. Yeah, you could also say specify a minimal angle and a maximal angle, whatever. It's your game. Do what you want. Now we have the polygon shape, but we didn't create it yet, and this is what we have this environment body for. So all we need to do is call environment dot create fixture, and now we can give it a fixture def or two things here, which is the shape and the density. Well, these things are static, so the density doesn't matter at all. We could also say but 0 is just simpler. And we're done. Except, don't forget to dispose the polygon shape. It's not necessary to keep it, and we'll remove it. Okay, so there we go. The level generator is basically done. Let's try it out. Let's hope it actually works and doesn't embarrass me. Play, and well, jump up a little bit, and we absolutely see nothing again. Great. Okay, let's just quickly, I hope it's gonna be quickly, figure out why the heck nothing happens. Right, because I think this is actually wrong. Oh yeah. Let me just understand that. If the Y of the last platform plus some gap is bigger than the top edge, at first I'll try it out. but that happened to me previously, so well, yeah, there are all the platforms. Really? I don't get why bigger than that. If it's bigger than the top edge, whatever, it's working. That's probably a really stupid mistake and whatever, but as you can see, the platforms spawn, and I think it actually looks pretty fine. It looks actually, yeah, besides that box 2D kind of, I don't know what the fuck is just doing there right now. Okay, that's not our fault, that's box 2D's fault. Probably it's our fault, but really, is it going to happen this much? What the hell, it's going to happen this much. Play, and let me just jump up a little bit. And I'll just jump and go to the other side and jump again and jump, and it's actually working quite well, except this weird bug that we just had. I think it happens if we stuck with the top of the player there. I'm going to have a look at why that is, because it kind of can be. Seriously, that's not good. Anyway, the platforms are generated. Okay, that was the goal of this episode, and it's done. Also, as you just see, there is this kind of boosting up thing that we can do. Like if we touch something with our side, it's just boosting us up much. Like this. Oh crap, I'm already losing this game. Like this, and we'll get a pretty high boost. Anyway, what we wanted to do is done, and I hope you learned something, enjoyed this video, and yeah, just liked it in general. So thanks for watching, and thanks for tuning in, and I guess I'll see you in the next episode. If not, goodbye. And yeah, I'm repeating myself. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Da 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 da.